mind, I'm actually going to play kind of a cool deck that I didn't expect to play, but I'm going to play Storm deck. Storm's been getting more popular as the meta is sort of like, is kind of unfocused, and it can pry to that advantage. And if you look at my deck here, I've actually changed my deck to beat Storm a little bit more, especially since we're entering a combo meta. And I'll talk about that after the game, about what you can do. But against Storm, there's a couple things you do need to remember. Storm is a all-in combo deck, meaning if they fizzle once, it's game over for them. They're not going to have a second, like, it's very rare. We're talking about Kai, Buddha, and like, John Finkel are the only guys that I think can probably fizzle off, or like, go halfway with Storm, realize they're not going to win, stop, and then manage to do it again. It takes a really good player in order to pull one of those things off. You're going to want to get damage as much as you can. It's a race. It's just, your game one is going to be a race. There's very few cards other than, like, outside of Scavenging Ooze, maybe Manatith, various things like Thalia. Like, other than that, you really got no real way to interact with them other than their life goes too low and you just burn them out of nowhere. So you want to think about as all of your cards are basically race cards. The only time I would ever think about doing something tempo-ish is I would immediately bolt a Goblin Electromancer if it hits the field. They're still going to be able to respond to it with some ramp stuff, but they aren't going to be able to do any sort of draw spells or any like sorcery stuff, so it's still pretty good for you. And that thing can't live past turn 2. It's just not going to be good for you. So that's the only time you'll really interact with them. Other than that, it's just going to be basically force as much damage as you can. You can probably Gorkland Rampager without any fear because it's not like it's going to kill you. They're not going to kill your creature in response. So I am on the draw. He just played Thought Scour, showing me Goblin Electromancer and Thought Scour. So he's Storm, and I don't have a Storm deck yet, so I kind of like rushed to try to get this out here. What I gotta do is race as fast as possible right now. That's basically what Storm means. I gotta hope that he doesn't have like the good way to go off, but my plan A is race. We got some good cards here for the race option. I've got a Wild Noctil off the bat, which will be doing 3 damage. I've got a Tarmogoyf, which is currently going to be a 4/5, and that's relevant. It's going to be a 4/5. Plus, I've got Gorkland Rampager to do next turn in order to... So I'll have Gorkland Rampager, and hopefully the mana to Lightning Bolt it up. So we gotta think that he's going to be at 3 damage, plus another 4 damage, plus another 4, that's 8 damage. 8 plus 3 is 11, and then with Bolt backing it up, that'll be 13, 14 damage, so he'll be down to 4 life to work with. That's the hope anyways. If he gives me an extra turn other than that, then I've got almost a guaranteed win. Again, this is Zoo is basically a turn 4 deck. It's not really a turn 3 deck like other like Gruul Zoo is, or I'm gonna be greedy here. I guess maybe not, because I don't want his grape. Yeah, but I guess if he's gonna grape shot me, it's gonna be for like $1 billion, right? So it's probably better to be greedy than not. I'm gonna assume that's the correct choice here, rather than a Temple Garden, because we want a red. I think, yeah, we'd just be greedy here, because if he's gonna grape shot me, he's probably gonna grape shot me for $1 billion, not like exactly 4. So again, that's 7 damage, plus another 4 is gonna be 11, plus another 3 is, rechecking my math, 14, so that actually brings him down to 1. I forgot the Shivan Reef damage. So that could be good. I am putting the pressure on him right now. This does bring him down to Exacxi, so if he doesn't combo off right now, and I draw a land, he's dead. Which would be fantastic for me. He's obviously being a little shy and grabbing a mountain here. Is he tentative about mana? He might be thinking that he's just dead and he's got a combo off. But I don't see, he doesn't have like an engine to combo off like a Goblin Electromancer. If he puts out a Goblin Electromancer, that's fantastic for me. Although it looks like he's just gunning it. Yeah, he's starting his storm count, so I guess he's trying to gun it. Pyretic Ritual, I'm just going to let him do that. I'm going to look real quick into my sideboard just to see what I've got. I'm allowed to do this, so he's just going to be doing his thing. What would I side in? Grafdigger's Cage? Maybe, because that does stop his second half of the combo. Choke, I don't know if I would, because he's not really going to be playing very much that Choke hits, and he doesn't really play a lot of stuff. A lot of islands anyways, like a lot of lands in general. Boros Charm's probably a definite ability. Destructive Revelry's definite, and so is Mana Tith. Those are all definite things. Got a Pyromancer's Ascension with one counter on it right now from Metamorphose, I guess is what happened while I was looking away. But he's going to have to go ahead and activate the Pyromancer's Ascension and just do... He might just value Grape Shot me here. And this doesn't nearly hurt me as much as it does Pod or Affinity. Because he could probably take out my Tarmogoyf maybe, but not my Wild Noctowl. And that isn't... Oh, I guess that does put Pyromancer's Ascension online. Oh, and he fizzled! He fizzled! Crazy. Or maybe he was just trying to turn it on, so maybe he can, like, do a double bolt or something here. Double bolt is certainly relevant here. I think we're just going to start combat, and I'm going to go ahead and, if he doesn't do anything, I'll attack. If I add 4 here, it's not like it kills him. It brings him down to 3, and I don't have the bolt to finish him off. So there's no reason for me to Gore Clan Rampager currently. I'd much rather have my Lightning Bolt mana open in case he wants to try to like Gertaxian probe me for life. In which case, if he does it twice, he's dead. Also, these will hurt him too. So yeah, good game. I mean, he was under duress. Next turn, I might have just killed him. If he didn't even try to do anything. Mana Tith is a little interesting that I've got that in this version, but it's probably worth noting. Path to Exile, I'm going to side out. It only hits 4 cards out of his deck, and while they're relevant 4 cards, they're not the best 4 cards in the world. Boros Charm's more relevant than Lightning Helix is, I would think. Although Nether Reliquary actually doesn't do much in this matchup. Other than being big, but it's a little late. Kind of comes in a little bit late. But that allows me to put Boros Charm in there. I'm also going to, yeah, I'm going to take out the Knights. They don't really do anything other than maybe draw me a card. I don't have the Juka Bog in my sideboard, otherwise I would have kept it in. The Burn is more of an issue in the Grafdigger's Cage. I've got a lot of hate cards here, but I've got a still solid package of like deal damage, as you can see right up here with my creatures. Scavenging Ooze is really big. Grafdigger's Cage turns off half of his combo, well, like a third of his combo. He's got Ascension and Goblin Electromancers. Mana Tith will just screw him. If I hit like his ramp spell with it, I think is don't get me like don't pull me on this. I'm not actually the best when it comes to counter spells. I'm not a counter spell dude. I've got a Mana Tith in my hand, so I'm gonna need to become a counter spell dude. I could counterspell his turn 2, whatever it is, but that would cost me my turn 1, and I don't think I can do that. And he sees that I've got the Manatith now. I can't hide it anymore. So it's better for me just to go straight up and to be aggressive with Wild Noctowl. Manatith is going to be interesting because it does make him have to play around it. And if he puts out a turn 2 thing like an Electromancer or something, I still have a way to Lightning Helix it. But what I Manatith probably is the ramp spell, right? That's probably what I do at that point. There's no use in Manatithing his I guess like if he has three mana out and he tries to go ahead and does a ramp spell, that doesn't really stop him, does it? Manatith's an interesting one here. It's got its value, and by the way, the reasoning why I cracked for that specifically is so that way I can still crack for a green mana or a white and red mana here. If he's gonna leave the Steam Vent tapped, that gives me an opportunity to Manatith his turn 2 if he doesn't have the third land. I think what I do is I leave Manatith mana open here. I mean, he knows that I have and again, I'm going to be greedy. He knows that I've got the Lightning Helix, so he wouldn't put Goblin Electromancer out there, especially with me having open mana just to burn it away. And even if he were to do Goblin Electromancer next turn, I have the mana Tith that he would, if he pays for, counterspells it. I think that's the correct play here. And then I go ahead and put a Curd Ape out there. It'll expand my clock out there, which is what I need. And he's tiptoeing around this Manatith right now. If I don't see a third land from him, that's fantastic for me. And he plays 16 lands in his deck, so there's a fair chance he doesn't have that third land. Back when I played a Gurlzy with 16 land, I almost never got to my third land drop. I'd be lucky if I got to my second land drop. So Manatith has the ability to sort of screw him out of what he does, whatever he does here. He can go ahead and Serum Vision or something, and I would allow that. Because, oh, there he goes with the land. Sleight of hand, sure. Yeah, even though I'm a zoo deck, that does not mean I'm stupid. Yeah, you can go ahead and draw your card. I've got a Manatith that's not hard to counter, unless you've tapped out. It's not a hard to counter. So, alright, so I draw, and I've got another mana, which is good. That means I can Manatith and Lightning Helix in one turn. If he doesn't do anything on his turn, then I'll gladly Lightning Helix him down to 5. Because that would then be game over on my swing. I don't even need to Lightning Helix him, I could Boros Charm him too. And that brings him down to 4. So I'm pretty sure this is just the game. I mean, he's trying to combo off, but I'm forcing him to do only instances right now. And if I'm seeing him Lightning Bolt my Wild Noctowl, that's not good on his end, especially when I've got a hand with another Lightning Helix and a Boros Charm. He's still got 4 mana, sure. But he can't play any of his draw spells, which are all sorcery speed. And he's down to 1 card in hand. I can't, for the life of me, unless it's Past in Flames, which if he does... Yeah, so that's fine, sure. I'm most definitely not going to counterspell it since I've got the win on the board anyways with my Lightning Helix and a Gore Clan Rampager. If I draw a burn spell, he's just totally dead for. I'm going to take out a crap ton of his team here, because to not die, he would need to block with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of his goblins, making it his oh, I guess he's got 12 here. So again, totally fine. I guess I could just also just put out a Curd Ape, not allow him to win the game, and then Boros Charm him, which is probably the better play. It also means that I can just Gore Clan Ramp. If he attacks flat out, I can Gore Clan Rampager on the next turn too. He can't beat me even if he draws a Bolt. And again, I got Boros Charm to bring him down to 2, and then the next turn I've got Lightning Helix just to finish him off. And that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Alright, so yeah, that's how you beat Storm. One hate spell was apparently enough. So that was the Storm deck. Again, game 1 is basically a race. Game 2 and 3, you can sideboard things in specifically for them. The cool thing you saw with me is that I had a couple different sideboard cards. I had Scavenging Ooze, which was really good in the main deck. Boros Charm and Gore Clan Rampager, for all intents and purposes, basically says deal 4 damage. And they can be pivotal. And in the sideboard, I had Grapdigger's Cage, Destructive Revelry, and Manatith to come in and sort of try to hit them out. Again, Storm is an all-in combo. They're very rarely can you do they see a hate card and expect it. One of the big things was Manatith is one of those cards that really no one expects. I'm sure he sided out any idea of having to play against any counter spells when he saw that I was Zoo. That is one of those. The benefit of Manatith is just added. You never expect a Zoo deck to have a counter spell unless it's playing blue. And Manatith did its job there. It made him. He had to dance around it, and after he finished dancing around it, he didn't have enough time. He was down to 7 life. He did actually storm off, but by that point, I had the burn in hand. I could just finish him off. So that was the Storm matchup. If your meta is filled with Storm, I would think about putting Thalias in the main deck. That basically, if you've got a lot of blue in general, the Thalia is a good idea for you. There are specific cards that really hate out Storm, and that is your main board, in some cases. And you're going to be looking at things like any way to nuke the graveyard is a great idea. So Grapdigger's Cage comes in there. It's something that you might already have against Pod, but it does not allow them to flash back their spells or use Past in Flames, which is arguably half of their engine, half to 1/3 of their engine. Relic of Progenitus is the same deal, except you have to pop it at some certain time, and that does have the upside of being able to maybe get rid of 2/3 of their engine, because it can get it can stop the counters being put on Pyromancer's Ascension. You just need to remember that Pyromancer's Ascension triggers on cast, so you can't do it in response to them casting a certain spell. You have to do it pre-head of time. Rest in Peace is also one of those things that you can do. And Rest in Peace basically does it right away, and that stops like basically 2/3 of the engine just by being an awesome spell. Tormad's Crypt's in the same deal as Relic of Progenitus. Dryad Militant is maybe something that you might have. It's more of a budget option, but it was good back when tempo was really big in Modern. She's a 2/1 bear that hit for 1 flexible mana that also stops things like Snapcaster, so you might have it in your main board. Aethersworn Canonist is probably something that you do not have in your main board, although I have seen Zoo decks have it in their main board just generally when there's a lot of combo around. But what that does is it stops the deck from doing multiple spells, which is how you get your Storm engine running, and it basically screws it. Quislali Pridemage might be something that you actually have in your main board, and if you do, it's really good because it nukes the Ascension part of it, and it can also beat down. So like if you put it ahead of time before the Ascension comes out, and they can't play the Ascension because Quislali Pridemage will nuke it, and even if they can't nuke, or it's stuck in their hand, well, Quislali Pridemage can still beat down, so it's like very good on both ends. Spirit of the Labyrinth is some of the pictures not shown up here, but it says it can't draw more than 1 spell per turn, which does stop a huge storm. It can still allow Storm to exist on a small scale, but it does stop a huge storm. But it does die to a single poke from what do you call it? It does die from a single poke to by Grape Shot, but that does get a Grape Shot out of their hand. Thalia is definitely better main board than Spirit of the Labyrinth, and even though it still dies to a Grape Shot, it makes the Grape Shot cost 3, cost them their entire turn, and it can screw them from being able to sort of like get to the Grape Shot or get to the Bolt. Rest in Peace we already talked about. Rule of Law, again, is another Aethersworn Canonist that does not die, but does cost 1 mana more. Back to Nature might be something you have against Boggles, but it's still worth putting in. Deglamour, again, is worth putting in if you've got it for like Tron matchups. Destructive Revelry, if you're overall matchups. Again, good to put in because they all nuke Ascension. Wear and Tear also nukes Ascension. Manatith is an interesting one because it's got a lot of different ways that you can use it, but it is one of our only counter spells we can do. So that was the Storm matchup, and I hope you guys enjoyed seeing how you can beat Storm. It is definitely beatable, even though people say it's a bad matchup, and I will agree, it's definitely a bad matchup. It's Game 1 is definitely not in our favor. Game 2, if we got enough sideboard, we can bring it down to about a 60-40 in their favor, but it's still definitely not in our favor. So, that's it, guys. Remember to feed your animals.